y'all, this is the Oklahoma Grammy. It's approximately 9 o'clock at night and all of my grandbabies are asleep. So I'm going to make you a Crockpot Applesauce Apple Butter that is going to be canned. And I'm going to start by showing you what you're going to need and everything. It takes about 15 to 16 hours to do it this way. The apple butter, you can either put it in your refrigerator or you can put it in a cool, dark place until you're ready for it. So let's get started. Here we have our two 46-ounce jars of applesauce. It's unsweetened. We're going to put 2 of these in our crock pot. I want to try to get it as much as you can out of there. Let's set that one aside. I'm going to bring you a little closer because I want you to see the colors that it's going to have when we first start and what it will look like whenever we get through. Now it will be tomorrow before I'm able to actually show you what the color is going to be. So let me see. I hope you can see that. Okay, we're going to add 2 cups of regular granulated sugar. Now y'all, you don't have to be precise. Just put that in there. Okay, next we're going to add light brown sugar. You want 2 cups of this. And like I said, you don't want it packed or anything. You just want to put it in there. So we're going to say that's 2 cups. We're going to add 12 ounces of apple juice. You can use any kind of apple juice that you want. Here we are going to add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, ground cinnamon. Next we're going to add, let me get all of it out here. We're going to add ground nutmeg. We're going to add ground cloves. Oops, I'm sorry. Ground cloves. And ground allspice. And we're going to use 1/4 teaspoon for this. You can do it any which way. It doesn't have to be precise. You're just going to use 1/4 teaspoon more or less of each one. Like I said, you don't have to be precise. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of apple spice, apple pie spice. And we're going to stir it up. I do not have my crock pot on at this time, so I'm going to turn it to low. You want to have it on low, and like I said, it's going to have to stay for about 16 hours. And the reason is you want to let this reduce. It won't reduce a whole lot because it is in a crock pot, but it will reduce some, and that's what you want. As you can tell, the color of it, how it has changed to a light brown. This will get darker as it goes along. For the first 6 to 8 hours, you do not want to stir this. You want to leave it alone and just let it do its own little thing. After that, you want to come behind and you want to give it a good stir and put the lid back on it and let it continue cooking the rest of the way for the next 5 hours to 6 hours. Depending on how dark you want your apple butter, the longer you leave it on, the better it gets. So this is all there is to it. And you're just going to put the lid, move everything out of the way, and we're just going to scoot it back. And I'm going to clean everything up, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. It's 7 a.m. and I wanted to pull this forward and to show you what it looks like at this point. We're going to stir it up, and then it will have another 6 hours to go. So as you can tell, it has gotten browner, which is what we want. It is starting to reduce, as you can see. So we're just going to pull this back and we're going to stir it up. Now, anybody who's ever messed with apples before doing canning, your apples, they themselves have a lot of air in them. So that's where a lot of that's coming from. As you can tell, it's gotten a whole lot thicker, which is what we want. As you can see, the consistency of it and how dark it's gotten. That's what we want. And it smells so good in the house. Now we're going to put our lid back on it. And we're going to pull it back and let it go for another 6 hours. And I will see you around 1 o'clock. Y'all, the apple butter has been done for about 2 hours now. So what I've done is I have taken and I've let it cool for about 2 hours. It's still warm to the touch, the lid is. One thing about apple butter is when you go to stir it, because it has that air in it, when it's hot, it'll splatter on you. It really will. This is how beautiful it looks now, as you can tell. And we're going to take a little cup like this. It's 8 ounces. It's a little jelly jar that Ball has with a pretty little crystal looking indent on it. Now you can get anything that's out there. You can get pint-sized jars. You can get the quart-sized jars. You can get a gallon-sized jar. It really doesn't matter. We're going to fill these up. And I bought this little deal from Walmart, and this actually really helps to set inside of there like that. And it also gives you the space that you need, the head space, whenever you're going to be canning. So we're going to go ahead. It's still pretty warm. We don't want to overfill it. We want to fill it to about right there, because apples, they tend to expand in the heat. So we're going to just keep filling them. Now I went and bought me a new canner today. 2 years ago, the canners were like $19.99, somewhere along in there. Now they're $30. So I don't know why, because it's the same canner. And all I'm doing is filling it to the bottom of that little rim on that. You don't want to go any further than that. Because when the apple starts, I do water bathing. So whenever it starts to boil up again, while it's sealing and everything, it will come up and it bubbles, and that can tend to make the apple come out of the jar and then seal it. So that's why you need to have at least that much head space in your jar. Up. See, I forgot. I wasn't thinking. I got talking and I forgot. And it's very, very important, after you get your jars filled, that you clean the rim of the jar. That way the seal will seal on it, because if there's any kind of residue on it, it won't seal. And I'm gonna see if I can get 12 little jars out of this. And once you can these, this is going to last for 3 years. It will stay good on your shelf in a dark space for 12 years. I mean, for 3 years, I'm sorry. That's if it lasts that long. Always have you a little bowl or a cup or something, that way you can put your ladle in, or a plate. As you can see, having this little cup, it keeps the rim pretty clean, but we still want to wipe it with a dry cloth to make sure. And I have some more jars ready, that way I can use the rest of it. We'll see how many jars I can get out of this. These are good for gift giving as well. So I'm going to tap this to get as much as I can out of that. Now over here I have a spoon. Now remember what I told you about it bubbling up? See if you can go around in there for a few minutes. That helps alleviate a lot of the bubble that can be sitting in the jar. You want to do this with each one. And I'm going to show you something in a minute. Remember, they were all full. And once you do that, you're letting all that air out, which is very, very important that you do. Apples just normally have air in them. And anybody who's canned before knows what I'm talking about. And it can pop the seal while it's cooking, and it will get all over your canner. And then you'll wind up you'll either lose your stuff that you just canned, or you'll be able to, if it didn't get very much in the canner, you should be able to save it by taking and wiping it down and adding a little bit more. Now, as you can tell, right here, see how much it went down? And that's because there was a lot of air inside of that. So I'm going to take and do this real gently. See if I can get it up there. And I will redo that to make sure there ain't no air in it, since I filled the rest of this up. See, I'll show you again. See how much it went down? Try not to get it on the rim of your glass, and that'll help. Apple butter is just so delicious on biscuits or toast. And I just added some while ago to this, and it already went back down. So as you can see how quickly that air goes out. Just a little bit. Don't need much in that one. And these are great for gift giving. So let me clean my lids. And all you do is you just take a towel and just go around that rim. Stick you a lid on it. Make sure you have rinsed your lids and everything and dried them real good. And you're just going to hand tighten the lid. You don't want it tight. That's as tight as you want it. I'm going to finish doing these, and then I'm going to put them in my canner. So stick with me, and I'll show you the new canner that I got and how we're going to do that. So this is a 21.5 quart water bath canner, and it has it's a heavy pan, and it has a flat bottom on it, and you can cook on an electric stove, a gas stove, or a glass top stove with these pans. This came with this. It sits on the side of the pan, and I can put it like this around the handles, and I can take these and set them in the water inside of this. That way I'm not doing too much. Make sure you get your jars all the way next to the side of the pan. That way you have plenty of room. Now my water's not boiling because I can actually touch these. They're warm, but I don't want it to be boiling, because if it was boiling and these jars are not real hot, it could bust the jar. And we don't want that to happen. And see how many this water bath canner will hold. Okay, this held 10 little jars. So, and what we do is we're going to pick it up and just set it down. And as you can see, the little handles, they stay up right here, and that way it makes it easier for me to be able to lift them out whenever it's done. Now we're going to take and we're going to put the lid on it. I'm going to turn it up on high, and we're going to let it come up to a rolling boil. And once it starts boiling, at that point we're going to count for 10 minutes. That's how long it's going to take for it to can these. Like I said, we're not going to start counting until it comes back up to that boil. So, and it shouldn't take but just a few minutes because the water has been simmering. I can see inside of the lids, so and that when it gets to boiling, I'm gonna take and put my timer on my stove. That way I know exactly how much longer I have. And take, while this is boiling and doing its thing, I'm going to lay out a towel over on the counter, because once I take these out, they need to set on a towel, not only just for the condensation in the water that's going to come off the jar, they need to set for at least 10 to 12 hours with being undisturbed once they are canned. And that helps the process of that seal. You can take and dry your jar after you get it out, after you've got it on the counter and everything on your towel. Go ahead and wipe the lid and everything off without trying to disturb it too much. You know, just kind of damp it dry. That way you don't break that seal and you're not really messing with anything. And another thing, with this kind of canner, you can get them at Walmart. You should be able to get them at Walmart. They're 21.5 quart. Walmart was just out of them. The ones they had on Amazon I wasn't real enthused with. I bought this at a farm and ranch store called Atwood's. I really liked it because it was really heavy filling. And that's what you need with whenever you're water bathing anything, you need a good pan. And I really like the insert of it because it's going to be easy to lift out. You don't have to have the tongs and do one of them at a time. You can actually lift this out, take it over, and go set it on the towel, and then take each one of the jars out using a towel. So that saved on some money because some little things are like $12. Okay, it's starting to boil. It's not quite there, but it's almost. Kind of like one of the old percolators where you had to wait and wait and wait until you'd seen the water coming up in the spout of the percolator. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to set our timer at 10 minutes. So while it's doing its thing, I'll be back with you in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and fill the other jars with the remaining apple butter that I made. So I wound up with 13 jars of Baker's Dozen. I thought I had more of the apple butter in the container, but there was only enough to make another one. All the jars sealed. Now, I did talk to the people who make the ball jars, and they told me the lids, I've noticed a lot of them, they're popped, the little button in the middle, and they said that is normal. They said, you know, before I ever started doing this, and I told them what was going on, and they said that once you get all of your jars processed, they said, whenever you dry them off and you set them out, she said, push that button in, and she said it will stay. The jars are sealed. It's just the way that they are making them now, the little lids and everything. And they said that is a precaution. That way, if you cannot push that button in and it does not stay in, then you need to get another lid for it. The rings are good. You know, every one of these, all the buttons are down, so we're good. They all process real good. You know, I hope that you'll make the recipe and let me know if you liked it or not. Like I said, it only takes 10 minutes once the water starts boiling. If you do like the video, if you would, you can help me out by giving it a thumbs up and watching the video and subscribing if you haven't already. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Hey, you little fool!